Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the roots of my photographic passion, as well as prepping for a trip and the healing power that photography can have. Well, hey everybody, it's Hudson. Thanks so much to all of you who've been liking, subscribing, sharing these videos. There's always a subscribe button down there in the bottom right. I want to just take a moment. It's a change of schedule this week. I was planning on kind of following up my monitor calibration video of last week with one on doing some techniques to capture the color perfectly in the field in a way that you could easily calibrate and get it just dialed on your color calibrated monitor. I'm going to save that for next week. It's been a crazy week for me. I found out about the tragic loss of two older cousins of mine, twin brothers, who when I was young I just kind of hero worshipped. I spent a lot of time in the outdoors with my older cousins on my mom's side of the family, and learned my love of the mountains from them and photography. Traipsing about the mountains with my cousins and learning to climb and backcountry ski and doing trips with these guys and wanting to capture images to bring home, share with family members and friends who weren't on those kinds of trips to these spectacular places, not so far from where we lived here in the Pacific Northwest. There's just wonderful mountains stretching on the center of the states of Oregon and Washington and Northern California all the way up into British Columbia, and there's just a wonderland out there that I played with these guys, and it's tough. The loss is hard, and I actually have decided my cousin Dawn, who I really learned almost everything I know about the mountains and inherited my passion for the mountains from, invited me to go on a climb on Mount Baker. He and my cousin Fred, who I just lost, and I did a trip up there, 7 years ago, I think. Climbed it and skied it, and we thought we'd go back up there and kind of honor he and his brother's memory this week. So I'm cutting short the normal sort of educational video. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm taking on that trip and about the power of, I think it's important, the photography going back through when you have a loss like this, how healing it can be to go back through and have those memories and relive those times with people that you miss. I have photos of when I was young with my cousins Ted and Fred, and pictures from my trip climbing Mount Baker with Fred, and trips up in the Mount in the Glacier Peak Wilderness area, and just great memories from when I was younger. Maybe not my greatest photos. I hadn't turned professional, but those trips are really where my passion for photography grew. We can all come to our passion for photography from different places, whether it's photographing portraits of your family or street scenes in the urban setting that you live. For me, it was getting out in the mountains. So I'm getting back to my roots of that. I'm taking nothing but my little Nikon Z50 on the climb with me, with a 16 to 50 lens with that APS-C sensor. That's going to be the equivalent of about a 24 to 75 millimeter lens, and it's nice and light for a trip like this where you're carrying everything on your back up a big volcano on skis. And I'm taking something that I'm going to tease here. It's a 4-pound ultralight with leveling head tilt pan system that I've designed and put together. Really easy to put together, just a couple parts you have to buy, and I'm going to be putting all that out. I'll be testing it a little bit on this trip, but I'm excited about it, about as excited as I've been about a new piece of kit in a long time. I've had so many people chime in after my fluid head video saying that's just too big and heavy for me. I have a back problem. I travel too far. I can't handle that weight. And so I kind of took it upon myself to find a better alternative to all the ultra lightweight tripods that people send me asking if I could approve of or not. This one gets right to eye level for me at 6 feet tall without using a center column, has a built-in leveling base. It's pan and tilt, so no ball head problems, and it weighs less than 4 pounds. So we'll talk about that in upcoming weeks. I had some interesting questions too, kind of stemming from last week's video on monitor calibration. And I had some people asking, I have a really great screen. I have an iMac. I have a professional color calibration screen that's supposed to have automatic calibration. Well, They want to know, do I really need to go through and do the hardware calibrating with a colorimeter or a spectrophotometer that you recommended in last week's video? And my answer is adamantly, if you're serious about color, if you print, if you want your colors to be accurate and your tones to be accurate, yes. I'll tell you that people that spend $10,000 on ultra high grade monitors in professional labs are color calibrating those things every day before they do their work on them, before they do their soft proofing. Because the possibility is, and the absolute nature of monitors are that the colors drift over time and they need constant profiling, calibration, adjustment, even the very best of them. So the tone and the color is going to drift a bit, and using that piece of hardware that I showcased in last week's video, which I'm linking in the YouTube description, all you got to do is click the title or click show more, is going to just be critical no matter how good your monitor is, no matter what operating system you're using. It just across the board, the only way to be sure that your color's right is to keep it calibrated. And I think that when we're spending as much time as we are editing these images, getting them perfect, you want to make sure that what you're seeing on the screen is what's really being encoded into that file. All right, so thanks everybody. I'm going to take off. I'm going to get out in the mountains, get back to my roots, connect with my cousin, remember my lost cousins, do some photography. Again, I'm just going to take a GoPro and this Z50, and I'll probably do a trip video. Maybe I'll share with you guys what I find along the way. That's the beauty of photography. It really lets you share experience and emotion with other people when it's done right. So thanks so much for watching. Well, again, you know, I'm still doing these Tuesday morning office hours. This trip isn't going to be very long. It's just a few days away from the studio. I'll be back next week, and please sign up for my free interactive office hours. Those are still happening every Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Just go to hudsonhenry.com/office hours. First 100 people can get into the Zoom meeting where we monitor the chat and take questions and do live Q&A. I love it when you submit your questions in advance when you're signing up. There's also going to be a live YouTube stream, and it's just a ton of fun. I love these sessions. It's a great way to connect to the community while we can't be out photographing together. And on that note, just a word about workshops coming up as we start to kind of reopen the country. I intend to be extremely safe about it. We're going to be very, very conscientious with one another about protecting each other from spreading any potential biohazards around. But I intend to run the Portland workshop this last day of July, moving into August. Portland's not been hit hard, luckily, by the pandemic, and I have a big space where we can stay socially distanced. Things are opening back up. We'll all be very careful with one another. I have about 8 people in there. We had a couple cancellations, so there are a couple of slots. That's on the website. I'm going to link it in the YouTube comments. And I still intend to run my big national park workshops this fall in Yellowstone, the Tetons, and Moab. And that I am so looking forward to a big road trip, and we'll be cautious with that as well. And that part of the country, again, is a place that hasn't been hit hard. So if we're all conscientious with one another, we ought to be safe and sound. So, all right, everyone, hit me up in the comments on YouTube here, emails, sign up for the office hour, leave questions and comments. I love to hear what you're thinking. That's what drives the content of this Approaching the Scene series. I'm going to go hit the mountains, and I'll tell you about it next week.